Hey guys, Belle here. With BFA hitting the internet world on August 14th, this of course does make a pretty strong case for pre-patch making its way to us about beginning mid-July. Sometimes there is so much to do in an expansion that at the end of the expansion we often forget some of those things, and we may even find ourselves hit with a small boredom stick, and that could be tough to deal with. With that, I wanted to do a quick video to talk about what we can be doing in World of Warcraft until then. Before we get started, I also wanted to make sure I made a shout out to Swagbucks for sponsoring this video. Swagbucks is a rewards program where you can earn cash, gift cards, all kinds of things. This does also include Steam cards as well as Amazon cards, which you can use to purchase Battle.net balance cards. I have already started earning myself, mostly because, well, I like free. So if you're interested in checking that out, make sure you click the description below and get your $5 sign up bonus along with that. Now, let's jump right in and talk about what we can do in World of Warcraft while we wait for the impending Horde and Alliance war. The first thing is going to be to pick up 2 extra class hall champions. Both of these champions can be acquired on all classes, which is pretty cool. Even though we're not going to be using our mission table much in the new expansion, it's always good to acquire things, especially when they're essentially free. Now, the first one is going to be Meatball. I actually don't call him Meatball, I call him Meatwad. Most of you will probably know what that's from, but that's just my humor. Unfortunately, Blizzard won't let me change his name, so I just have to be stuck with Meatball. Now, this champion is a Brawlers Guild champion. He's a very useful bodyguard to have as your combat ally when you're doing Broken Isles things. He has a lot of damage, especially with he has this orb ability. I actually like having him just kind of out there in the world, especially when we're doing things like farming mats and prepping for the new expansion. It's nice to have an additional champion that can escort you through those things. In order to acquire Meatball, he doesn't cost any money. All you have to do is go to the Brawlers Guild, which you'll need a Brawlers Guild pass, and you just need to defeat Oso, which is the first fight in the Brawlers Guild. Now, once you've done that, you'll go back to your order hall and there'll be a mission on your mission table that will start this quest chain and 12 steps of doing things. You have to do some small Brawlers Guild things, but at the end of the day, it isn't really that much. In truth, with the Brawlers Guild, since we have downtime anyway, now's the time to go check it out if you haven't, or if it's been on your to-do list and you've just let it slip away. The new expansion will bring new achievements, which means the current achievements will be moved to Legacy after the pre-patch, so you might as well go in there and get it done and get Meatball while you're at it. The second one here is going to be Moros. Once again, he can be acquired on all classes, and he is the Tower Steward champion. He is also a useful bodyguard to have as your combat ally to assist you in Broken Isles. Can't have too many, and since it's for all classes, it makes sense. While there isn't a whole bunch of steps to be able to acquire this follower, it does require a teeny bit of farming and a sacrifice and a blessing from the RNG gods, and hopefully you're in their good graces. You have to actually go into Lower Karazhan, and you can do this on any difficulty. The drop chance for what the item is that you need to pick up is about 1.6%. You're going to be doing some farming unless you're super lucky. You have to loot the broken pocket watch from Moros, and this basically starts this chain of events for you to acquire this follower. That's, in my opinion, the hardest part. You can queue back to back in the same day to try to get this to drop, but I mean, that's going to be the toughest part here. Once you do that, you'll collect items. There'll be a second item that you have to get to drop in Upper Karazhan, but the odds of that dropping are a little bit better. So easy to do. You just have to go and do it if that's something that's interesting to you. Next is going to be to complete the Mage Tower challenges. You want to do this on your main, maybe on your alts, whatever the case may be. This is important because these appearances for these weapons are not going to be available for the Mage Tower challenge after BFA. You don't want to be one of those people that realizes you really wanted that appearance and then it's too late and then we're crying on the forums to Blizzard. Be proactive, go in there and get it done. If you're intimidated, there's tons of guides. Wowhead has some really good ones that are player guides. Just go do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. The requirements for this, of course, are level 110. You should have a minimum of 35 traits on your artifact weapon that you're attempting this challenge on. I do recommend having all of them, including a couple into your concordance, which if you're alt swapping, once you have a fresh 110 with the weapon, 1 or 2 tokens pretty much unlocks the entire weapon, which makes this process a lot easier. You want to complete this on as many alts as possible, especially for the weapon specialization that you're interested in for the visuals. That way you have transmog options later. If you want to try to tackle all of them, there's several people that have done it, although my hat's off to them because I can't multi-roll the way a lot of other people can. If you want to attempt this, to break it up, make it a little bit easier to tackle, just complete one spec, alt per mage tower rotation. That way you don't feel like you're kind of doing this grindy thing. We have a little bit of time for you to get it done. When the mage tower is constructed, it's up for 3 days at a time. You need to have your Netherlight Crucible unlocked as well. Honestly, for the maximum benefit, you should just have all your weapons at 75 if you have that ability. It isn't needed, but it just kind of helps your chances. When you finish a challenge quest from the tower, you get the appearance for whatever spec you did, and you get the achievement A Challenging Look. Next up is a super obvious one, and that's allied races. Get what you need to be able to unlock them. If you're waiting to buy BFA because the collector's edition, or you are just not that interested in dealing with it right now, at least get in game and make sure you have the requirements done for all of the ones that we know we're going to be dealing with that require rep and stuff like that from current content. This way, when the time comes, you can just pick and choose the allied races you want without having to be behind the game, so to speak. If you've already unlocked your allied races, you're already ahead of the game, and that's good. On the subject of allied races, in order to obtain heritage armor on an allied race, you have to level 1 from start to finish. You can't boost an allied race if you want that race's heritage armor. If you have a main that you want to race change to a specific allied race and you want to have that heritage armor on that specific tune, all you have to do is level an alt with that allied race, unlock the armor, and you can use it for the same allied race character, even if you didn't level it, which is pretty cool. Along with allied races, now's the perfect time to level alts. And I know that a lot of people already know this, but I think we forget how important using the downtime in between expansions is for leveling alts. This way you have several options going into the next expansion. The reality is, class tuning, changes, balancing, all of those things aren't always going to go our way when it comes to the classes that we play. Not everybody is like me and refuses to change no matter what they do to my class, but for that, you just want to make sure that you have options so that if we get into BFA, there are things that are happening with the class that you're playing and you're just not digging the vibe. You have other options to do. Nobody wants to spend their BFA time leveling, especially when it's new content. Get it done before BFA, that way you don't have to worry about it. Dungeons are a great way to level, especially with the changes that they made to the experience gained. Some of you might not know that with those changes, they did do the dungeon experience gain changes, which means it's a lot more fruitful to go through those dungeons, especially when you're questing. You can queue for dungeons in between. Once you hit level 60, honestly, the leveling goes by so much faster. The XP needed finally kind of levels out versus the decline, and what seems like an uphill battle from 20 to 60. Really easy, use your Legion invasions for your alts. This is like the perfect thing to take advantage of because you can do this while you're doing other things. You can level 4 or 5 alts that are in between those levels at the same time because you just keep swapping during an invasion. After completion, move on to the next one and you're done. While this isn't the most effective way to level if you're trying to get it done quickly, but if you're doing things on your main and you just want to casually get these alts up there so that they can be maxed out for BFA, the invasions is a good way to get that done. Another thing you're going to want to do if you're dealing with this leveling process, if you haven't done it, is the Heirloom Hoarder achievement. The achievement isn't really what's important here unless you really like achievements, but what you get for the achievement does make a bit of difference when you're dealing with leveling alts, especially when you're starting them from 1 and moving your way up. Collecting 35 heirlooms gives you this achievement and you get the heirloom mount, which is a pretty nifty guy in a suit. It might be different for Horde, not 100% sure. But this dapper gentleman in a suit just carts me around everywhere in his little motorcycle cart. And I sometimes don't want to walk everywhere when I don't have the ability to mount at lower levels. So this way you can get from A to B and not have to worry about it. Another thing on your focus list should be weapon transmog collections. The reason for this, and it might seem like it isn't that important, but we've spent an entire expansion dealing with one weapon. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people who have probably transmogged their weapon because maybe they got tired of looking at it. I've just kept the, the different appearances I've earned, but I haven't really dealt with the weapon look very much outside of making sure the color scheme matches with my transmog. With us going into BFA, it's a good time to start completing sets and collecting your weapon base for your alts and things like that for transmog. We don't have anything better to do right now. Go farm old content, and especially if you're doing leveling, you're going to get some of that stuff while you're leveling as well. But the weapon should be kind of a thought process here, because it's going to be so great to actually have to farm a specific weapon again that you need for your perfect stats. Get excited and start making the most of your appearance collection time. Also, make sure you have your class order halls on as many alts as you can. I know that I'm saying this and people are probably like, wow, who cares about all that? Honestly, I enjoyed being able to get all the order halls on all my alts. I think I'm only missing 2 out of all the classes. I really wanted to experience each order hall and just give time to it, check it out, have it visually, and just say that I did that, because visuals are great and the devs spent a lot of time on these order halls, so it should be appreciated. But there's another reason. Each class hall, as I'm sure you guys are already aware, does have that the class hall gear set for transmog, which is an 8-piece set. You only need the stuff that you need to transmog. This kind of thing to me, is like a break in case of emergency. Example, right now on my monk, which is an alt, I don't have a ton of transmog options for her because she isn't something that I main, and I have a problem with the leather options when it comes to transmog. I struggle trying to be unique. Well, I could use the class hall gear transmog and just at least look like a monk while I'm working it out, and everything matches, and it took minimal effort because it's just class hall stuff that really isn't that complicated to do. So definitely make sure that you get your order hall. I recommend doing it on any, if you're a person that's a class collector and you have all the classes, just get the order hall done just so that you have it. With the class order halls, you also want to make the most of your missions for all of your alts and put your order hall resources to work. Right now, we have a plethora of order hall resources. I've always wanted to say that, and it actually makes sense in this sentence, but we have so many, especially on alts where we use to do world quests, whatever the case may be. Put those order hall resources to work. Get your primals, get your tradable stuff that you can sell and make money. Just use it to your advantage. The more you have, especially since you can do it from your phone, it makes it a ton easier. On that same note, class mounts. Mounts can be used on any alts of that same class. So if you've acquired your class hall mount on one warlock, you'll be able to use it on the other warlock. Let's say it's horde side, which to me is pretty cool. These mounts were intended to, showcase our class style. Not all of the mounts hit the mark, guys. I'm adult enough to know that some of the mounts are definitely not what I would have envisioned for that class, but it's good to have in your collection. And honestly, guys, a free mount is a free mount, and you don't say no to free. Being able to have something that is just for your class, especially when you have alts, go get them done, because the effort, really, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt because they haven't made that part super easy yet. But, what else are we doing right now? Here's what you need to unlock the class mount quest lines for any of your alts that are maybe fresh leveled, whatever the case may be. You need to complete your class hall campaign. That can be a little tedious depending on the class. Not all of them are super quick. Some of them are a little bit longer. Unlock the Broken Shore. You have to do the quest assault and all of that stuff. Complete all the quests for the Legion Fall campaign. This is going to give you the achievement Breaching the Tomb. Doing the Legion Fall campaign is actually super easy because they've pretty much nerfed all the requirements to the ground. So instead of having to farm 100 of a thing, it's like 25 and 50 of a thing. Use the group finder when you're on Broken Shore, and you'll probably find tons of other people doing those same things, but you might as well do it and collect all of the mounts. Another thing that I forgot to mention is the Mythic plus 15 weapon appearance. Guys, where do I even start with this? I tried my little heart out and we didn't beat the timer. You do have to beat the initial timer in order to be able to unlock the appearance. I didn't know that. I thought you just went in, finished it, doesn't matter the time, and you got your appearance. That is actually not fact. So make sure that when you're doing this, that you're going with a good group of people. I know pugs are a little bit difficult for Mythic plus 15s, especially with everybody wanting your firstborn child and, a heroic head of the curve for everything. But find a group of people, post, get people together, utilize your guild, get some heavy hitters, I'll say, if you're a little lower on the totem pole as far as item level goes. Find some heavy hitters that know what they're doing. Go into your Mythic 15 dungeon and get your appearance, because you're not going to be able to get it after BFA. Something to note, pick a week with good affixes if you're not super into the Mythic pluses, or if you don't have a group of people or something like that. Pick a good week that's going to set you up for success. When I had Asmongold on my podcast a month back, I actually asked him what he felt was the best set of affixes for the Mythic plus 15 run, and he told me Sanguine, Grievous, and Fortified. The fact that I could even say the first word is amazing. I'm sure I pronounced it wrong, but those are going to be, according to him, if he's wrong, you guys could take that up with him. Those are going to be your, that's going to be your best combo for you to be able to get it done. Wowhead does track the Mythic Plus affixes and even gives you a date. I think they do it every 2 months, where they list out each week for, the rotation for these, so that you can plan accordingly and pick and choose which one's going to be your best bet, or whatever's easier for you. Next up is going to seem like one that everybody probably tells you to do when you say you're bored. And I only know because everybody tells me to do this when I'm bored. And that is complete your Lore Master achievements. With Lore Master being adjusted to reflect, whole storylines completed versus the amount of quests, I think it gives you a little bit more enjoyment out of finishing it, because there's a lot of places we miss in the leveling process when we map hop. Before they did the scaling on the lower zones, we probably skipped a lot, and being able to just go back and kind of fill in pieces and gaps and live stories that we didn't know, you have a reason to do that if you haven't finished your Lore Master. If you finished your Lore Master, I tip my fedora to you, because I'm still halfway through it. I try it in between each expansion, and guys, it's a lot of work. But really, what am I doing besides that anyway? I don't have a lot of other options, so I just throw on some Netflix, start on a zone, find storylines on certain maps that I know I didn't level on or I missed, to make it, that way you get a 2-for-1 there. As far as mount and pets are concerned, there isn't any real great need for you to get a mount or a pet right now. However, I do recommend getting the Reigns of the Forgotten Hippogriff, especially if you are a Hippogriff fan. It's pretty cool. You can do this anytime. This isn't, they're not taking this away. But with pre-patch, the CRZ is going to open up, and there's going to be a ton of competition, because that veil is going to be lifted and everybody's going to be trying to click these crystals. If you're not aware how to get this, there are these crystals on Azuna in water and in various locations. You have to click 5 in a row in a certain session, and the 5th, you go through the thing and you get your Hippogriff. The problem is if there's other people on the server clicking those crystals, whoever gets to that 5 gets it, and then you have to wait for the next respawn. Well, I would rather do that when there's less people, especially with the fact that we probably have a good amount of unsubs while people are taking a break. Go get it while the getting is good, as they say. A player did a really good job in the comments on Wowhead's post regarding the Forgotten Hippogriff, and it's a pretty good guide, pretty easy to follow. I recommend taking some friends, have them go and look for crystals, so they can shout out on the map where the crystals are, and you can just go from A to B relatively quickly. However, don't be like my friend, and when you help him get his mount, he completely forgets about helping you get yours. Don't be like that guy. There are some achievements that I think you would probably do well to focus on, especially if you like achievement points and you're into that kind of thing. A lot of people don't care, but some people do. Get your artifact trait achievements. These are going to be moved to the Feats of Strength for patch 8.0, which is the pre-patch, and Feats of Strength make you look good, and we like Feats of Strength because, strong. Anyway, I made it awkward, sorry. Things like your power realized, your power ascended, Crucible's Promise. Get those things on 1 or more tunes, that way you have the achievements for those. We're already doing this content anyway, so you might as well just get it done if you have not. Most people's mains have already got this completed, but if you have alts and stuff, it's extra achievement points. Now, our favorite thing to do besides whatever weird stuff we do is raiding, right? Yes? No? Okay, maybe not. But ahead of the curve is always a focus every single patch, expansion, that kind of thing. You want to get your ahead of the curve for Heroic Argus. The achievement will not be obtainable for once the pre-patch hits. Now, once the pre-patch hits, you'll still be able to get your Violet Spellwing until BFA launches. And then the Spellwing, I think it goes back to the similar thing where it becomes a drop with a drop chance versus a guaranteed mount. You at least want to do this to get your Spellwing mount if you're not interested in the head of the curve, mostly because once again, it's a free mount. We don't say no to free, guys. I don't like recommending for people to pug, mostly because in order to get into a Heroic Argus kill, you have to have a head of the curve for Heroic Argus, which defeats the purpose, but you guys know what I'm saying because it is a common problem. They want your firstborn and everything else for you to be able to join any kind of a raid these days, really. If you're one of those people that doesn't have good experiences in pugging situations, I recommend some groups that are pretty well known for helping players get their mount. For the US, there's a group called the Perky Pugs. They do the Spellwing runs via the Twitter lottery system. Go to perkypugs.com. It has all the details. Now for EU, I tried to find EU-only resources, but since I don't reside on the EU side and don't know much about it, I did struggle a little bit. But I did find that there were some EU events listed on friendshipburb.com where you can join that and get that out of the way. Now, along the same lines with the Heroic Argus, you can also try for cutting edge Mythic Argus. I'm not really going to recommend this as a thing to do because this is really specific for people that are into getting their Mythic progression and that kind of thing. If your guild is done with Heroic and you guys are bored, try on Mythic, see where it takes you. You also want to get your first aid achievements if you care about that. These achievements are being moved into Legacy, and we know the Stronger bandages and the BFA bandages have been moved to Tailoring, and I think this is an effort to phase out first aid, which in truth makes a lot of sense to me. It feels like a tailor would make that versus you having a separate, first aid profession that doesn't really bring any value outside of, the bandages for each expansion. Go get those achievements. That way you don't have to worry about it when it gets moved into Legacy. Now, last on the list for achievements that I think could be, fun and important is the Glory of the Raid achievements. While these are available all the time, they don't go away. It's like exponentially more difficult to find players wanting to work on these when the new expansion hits. Everybody's going to be focused on new content. You're going to find very few people wanting to go into the older content. So, what's my word? Free mounts are free mounts. Go get your free mounts because nobody says no to free. For the Glory of the Legion Raider, this rewards the Defiled Reigns. The Glory of the Tomb Raider, this rewards the Title Tomb Raider, which is pretty awesome, and the Micronax Controller. And finally, for the Glory of the Argus Raider, this rewards the Entorn Gloomhound, which is a pretty sweet mount. Now, if you're unsure where to start in acquiring these achievements, if you don't have a guild, or maybe you're just not sure where to go and what to do, there is a good friend of mine who does a lot of runs for these achievements and tons more things raiding related for both current content and older content. His name is Neil. He is known as Neil on Medivh. Some of you may already know who he is. He does a great service to the community because he puts together these runs and he helps get people mounts and their achievements. There's a Discord for the achievements that also houses other people that you can connect with that are keen to get them done, so you can find yourself a little achievement group when it comes to raiding. His runs can be found on OpenRaid. All you have to do is search Neil under the events section and all of his stuff. He does stuff all the time. You can also follow him on Twitter @TheNeils and tweet to him to get any scheduled runs or get any information that you might need. I highly recommend it if you don't know where to start. And finally, on our list of incredibly obvious things to do in between expansions that we probably forgot about is Ashran. Now, Ashran is not on my list of favorite things, especially after the last round of huge changes that happened at the end of Draenor, pretty much making it useless for me in general. However, those achievements are moving to feats of strength, and as we already know, Ashran is being given its walking papers, and we gave it the boot. We don't know if it's going to return. We don't know if it returns, if it will be the same. We don't know any of that information. So for now, if you're interested in those achievements, go do them because we're not going to have the opportunity to get them later. That about sums up my recommendations on some things to do in World of Warcraft while you're waiting for BFA. The good news is, guys, we are down to the wire. We are very close. It is upon us. and it's a very exciting time for World of Warcraft players. Out of all the stuff that I mentioned today, what's one thing that you plan on doing from this list, or one thing that you maybe forgot about, or if there was something I didn't mention, make sure you comment below and let me know. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, and also if you are new to Method, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all the latest Method videos. That's about it for me, guys. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, thanks so much for watching.